Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Megan, and I'm here with another library book haul predictions revealed video. The last one for 2023. And the last video of the year that I'm hoping to upload before we cross over into 2024. Let's cross our fingers I get there, that I get to uploading it. Life is busy. Hence why it's taken me so long to read my last 4 library books. And these, oh, they're so heavy. I'm gonna hit myself in the face. These were them. I feel like I read a bunch of them so long ago that I don't even remember what we're talking about. But let's just jump right in. I'm gonna fix my camera a little bit because I don't like where we're sitting. There we go, that's better. And I'm back. I literally recorded the intro and then everybody in my house decided to start talking right outside my door. So I'm just gonna restart talking about this book because it's probably, you're not going to hear me, you're going to hear everybody else. I hate filming when everybody's home. Fun times. Alright, so, the first book that I read was Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samara Ahmad. I rated this 4 stars, although I think I want to lean more towards 3.5, just because there were aspects of this that I was like, alright. So, this book dealt with like heavy topics mixed with lighter topics. And it did a really, really good job of balancing the two, because if you didn't have the lighter stuff, it would have been a really heavy read, because this dealt with racism in America and how our main character, Maya, is faced with just these little jabs that are not necessary, but, like, are happening to her, and it's now affecting her life, it's affecting her family's life, and they're like, they even come to the conclusion that they're going to move from where they are because like they don't like where they live. And there was just, like I say, a lot of heavy topics there. But then it was mixed with this romance that I didn't feel like I enjoyed it. So Maya's crush, I don't remember his name, but he was very boring. Like, I could tell that the author was trying to give him a lot of background and give him a lot of like interesting things, but I just couldn't, I don't know, I just couldn't believe it, and I just was like, they don't seem to fit together, and I don't know, I just didn't like that they were trying to be together. I don't know. Like her parents were not forcing, but her parents are like introducing her to this other guy, and I'm like, I really liked him. I thought he was really nice and really sweet. But they found that their relationship was more like a brother-sister, like, friendship relationship. And I was totally down for that, too, because I really liked that they were there for each other. But yeah, her actual love interest, I was like, oh, he's super boring. I was like, I didn't, like, and I don't know, I just wish that they had had more of a connection instead of just being like, oh, I really, 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 really like this person, and now I get to be with them. And I was like, I don't know, it didn't feel like I was earning anything and gaining anything in that. It was just like, oh, I really like this person. Oh, now we're together. Cool. So that's, I think, where that's where I slip into 3.5 territory, but everything else was really, really like important read, like really like just a really well written novel. So that's this one. The next one I read was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I think I rated this one 3 stars, but I didn't really enjoy it. I rated it 3 stars because it would have been a really, 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 really interesting and different novel if I had read it when it had been released. So this was nominated for the Canada Reads 2023 list. It was shortlisted, and so I'm almost done with this list. I have one more book, and I have to read it as an ebook because apparently everybody wants to read it. So, and like, I'm coming so close to the end of the year, so I'm just like, ah. But anyways, back to this book. Yeah, so this is the first one, and probably the only one that I really didn't like this year. So this takes place, it takes place in Canada, obviously. And it's really hard to describe it, but this takes place during a pandemic as well, and I think that's what really triggered it for me, where it was like, this didn't feel very original, and it didn't feel very, like, it didn't do anything for me, because I'm like, we've lived through a pandemic. I don't need to be reminded that we lived through a pandemic, and this was, I think I said this, but it was released in 2014, so I mean, if I had read it then, I would have thought, oh, this is so different, this is so interesting, But I'm like, now reading it, I'm like, oh, this has a very different kind of, I have a different kind of viewpoint going in now. But the writing was really, really good. It was a little confusing because you have three main characters who are all, so there, we have a character and he dies at the very beginning of the book, and then you follow three characters who are semi-related to him and how their lives interweave with each other throughout the novel. And like it starts, so you start in, I guess, present, and then you kind of weave before, and then the pandemic starts happening, so then you keep going before pandemic, after pandemic, before pandemic, after pandemic, and it's like, oh, okay. So it was a really interesting read, and like I say, it would have been really fascinating, and I would have been really captivated if I wasn't going, oh, well, we've been through a pandemic, and this is almost, it was almost like a foreshadowing to our own lives. It was kind of creepy to read. It was kind of eerie to read. There were passages that took place in characters that I wasn't really interested in, and they became really long and bogged down, and I was like, can we get on with the story? So yeah, that's why this was only, I mean, I could have rated it 2 stars, but I wanted to be nice, and I rated it 3 because, like, this actually had, like, really good themes and plots and characters, but it just didn't work for me. Then we have Rituals by Kelly Armstrong. Do-do-do-do. Can you see the cover? Glare. Okay. I rated this one 3 stars. 3 or 3.5. I'm not sure anymore. So this was the final novel in the Canesville series. Almost a trilogy again, but series. Okay. I liked this, but it was so rushed. You could tell that she, like, was trying to figure out a way on how to wrap this story up without leaving things out, because she had a lot that she needed to get out in order for everything to tie up and make sense. And I'm like, you had 2 books previous to this one where you could have been putting all of the everything that you put in here, you could have been sprinkling in those other 2 books, so we didn't feel like we were sprinting a marathon while we were reading this. Like, information after information after information after information. I was like, I am overwhelmed with how much stuff you're giving me in this. And I mean, I'm really happy that we finally got around to learning about her parents and learning about why her parents did what they did, learning about how they did it, and seeing that thing, like, kind of getting a sense that, oh, this is what's going to happen in the future for them, kind of thing. Like, they probably won't stay in jail. And I was like, why couldn't this have been, like, sprinkled out throughout? Why did we have to go through 2 books of a love triangle that did not go anywhere? All of that build-up went nowhere in this book. Nowhere. Nada, sada, wada, huh. Nothing. I was like, she made it seem so important, and it was for nothing. I was like, I mean, I also enjoyed reading the Welsh and the Irish folklore, but I feel like I didn't get to absorb the information because she was giving it to us in like one after another after another after another. So I was reading it, but I wasn't, like, processing it and really understanding, like, and enjoying and getting well, not enjoying, but appreciating the stories and the folk. Like, I had to feel like I had to take it at face value. So it was just like, this series, it started off so well, and then it just flopped. Like, the first 2 books in this series are amazing, and then you get to the last 3 and you're like, I feel like I wasted my life. And I'm so sad. The writing was really good, but I'm just like, girl, she, like, lost interest. She clearly was writing another series or another book or something that was taking more focus, and she decided, I need to bang these ones out and finish the series. That's kind of how it felt, and you can tell in the way that this especially this one, how it ended. So I'm sad, but I'm like, that's not going to deter me from reading any more of her books, because I do like her writing. I do like the worlds that she builds. And I'm just hoping that if I ever pick up another series from her, that it doesn't end up in the ways that this one did. So that's that. Then the last book I read was Feel Free by Zadie Smith. So I know that when I had talked about this book in my predictions video, I had said that her writing didn't really jibe with me, and I mean, that was her fiction writing. This was a collection of all the essays that she's ever written for publication, basically, and I feel like there's probably some newer ones that she's also written specifically for this collection of essays. And her nonfiction is actually, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy her writing and like how free she felt in how she was expressing herself and how she felt. So I rated this 3.5 stars because I didn't I don't want to say enjoy, but I didn't fully and it's not like I don't agree or anything. It's just I wasn't connected to some of her essays, and that's okay. You're not going to connect with every single essay and every single thought that someone has, and that's completely okay. But she has some essays that I thought were really thought-provoking and really inspiring, and just a different way of viewing the world, and I thought that was just really interesting. And especially she talks a lot about black culture and how she is biracial and how that has affected her as a person individually. And she even talks about that, how she's like, I can only speak to my own experiences because not every single biracial person is going to feel the same way that I feel. And I'm not going to connect exactly to all black people. I'm not going to connect to all white people. And I thought that was just a really interesting interesting thing that she talked about throughout her collection of essays. She also talked about like books. She talked about pictures. She talked about she just has a whole arrangement of other things she talked about. There's a section where she talks about Key and Peele, which I thought was really, really interesting. That was one of my favorite essays of hers. She actually talks about them twice, but I think the first time that she mentions them, I thought it was so interesting because there's a lot of things I didn't know about Key and Peele as well. So I was like, oh, this is really interesting. This is really, fun to read about. So I really actually enjoyed, for the most part, these stories. And I feel like you get to know her as a person, reading this. So it kind of gives me, this, little inspiration of hope on reading her fiction again, because now that I have more of an understanding of her, I'm I can go into reading her fiction and going and maybe seeing it with a different eye and with a different perspective. So I thought that was really interesting. So that was this novel. So these were the last 4 library books of the year. If you've read any of them, let me know in the comments below. These were them. That is all I have for you guys this year. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, a do your thing, and I will see you all. I literally threw that off my shelf. I got so excited. My little Merry Christmas that doesn't want to stay on my shelf keeps falling. That is all I have for you in this video and this year. So I will see you all in my next video and next year. So happy 2024. See you all soon. Bye now.